New Zealand desperately needs drug law reform. We have pursued a failed and discredited policy of criminalisation. It is becoming increasingly apparent that drug addiction is a medical issue, not a criminal issue. Addiction is a medical issue, it should be treated as a medical issue. To treat addiction as a criminal issue is both cruel and stupid. It reinforces the very sense of alienation and isolation that often causes addiction. It is an idiotic and destructive policy. It should have been abolished a long time ago. My policy demands are simple. Legalise cannabis and other less dangerous drugs. Decriminalise drug use and limited possession. Invest heavily in rehabilitation services. Transition towards a medical approach. These policies are a necessity. We desperately need broad decriminalisation and a transition towards a strictly medical approach to drug addiction. Drug addiction is a medical issue. To treat it as a criminal issue is both immensely cruel and massively counterproductive. Treating addiction as a criminal issue is both cruel and an utter waste of taxpayer money. Drug addicts deserve medical support, not a cold prison cell and a criminal record. New Zealand must move towards a humane approach that gives drug addicts the support that they need. The current approach is stupid. The senseless cruelty of a totally unnecessary prison cell and a criminal record, all at the expense of the taxpayer. Addiction can only be addressed by social support and medical assistance, not the cold walls of a prison cell. Stigma and illegality will never solve medical issues that are heavily associated with social isolation. As far as drug use is concerned, there is only one approach that is both humane and consistent with reality, and that approach is medicalisation. Medical issues should be treated as medical issues. That is the simple maxim at play here. This is not that complicated. Some people claim that if drugs were decriminalised, they wouldn't be able to stop themselves from using them. For God's sake, learn some self-control. There are lots of things that are legal that we should avoid doing. We should not have to have some nanny state monitoring our every move. We should be able to exercise our own agency. I want decriminalisation of drugs. I want legalisation of many drugs. Yet I have no interest in drugs and have never used any serious drug other than alcohol. And I have no interest in trying any other drug. Decriminalisation and legalisation does not mean encouraging or embracing drug use. It means having a common sense approach that gives people a basic level of freedom and treats medical issues as medical issues. I believe in freedom. This policy is good for freedom. Sometimes the state needs to take a step back and get out of people's personal decisions. We already let people do things that are far more dangerous than smoking cannabis. Cannabis criminalisation is an indefensible inconsistency that makes a mockery of the legal system. Drug law reform can unlock the massive medical potential possessed by some drugs. This is a hugely beneficial thing. Some drugs have an enormous amount of medical value to offer. Heavy-handed criminalisation has prevented them from offering that value. That can change, that should change. We must embrace the medical benefits offered by some drugs and allow people to enjoy those benefits. We must encourage research in this area. For the sake of human health and well-being, this is a necessity. We can learn a lot from the highly effective policies that have been introduced in Portugal. There are many cases of decriminalisation and a medical approach being infinitely more effective than the drug war. For years the drug war has been waged and drugs have only become more of an issue. This war on drugs is a failed approach. And that does not mean encouraging drug use. It does mean rejecting this heavy-handed model. This heavy-handed model that pushes people towards drug use by framing it as rebellious and edgy. We must transition towards an effective medical approach to this issue. And we must seek to give people a strong sense of purpose and community. People gravitate towards drug use when they lack these things. Providing them is a big part of the solution. Decriminalization and legalization will also allow us to regulate drug use. This is extremely important and ensures that drugs can be provided in their safest varieties. People will always use drugs. So long as they are using them, I would prefer that they use regulated variants. Regulation is key, and you can only regulate something if it has been decriminalized and legalized. It is a simple fact that our current approach to drug issues is an appalling failure. We need drug law reform. We need change, and we need it now.